Well, hey there. Today we're working on a 1991 MR2, and we're going to go ahead and change the injectors in it. She's been running a little rough. If you've been following this car, she's had a little miss for a while, and for the longest time it looked like it was spark. We've got all the spark issues fixed, but she's still missing pretty hard. So we're going to go ahead and change the injectors. It's the only thing I can think it could possibly be. So stay with me. It's possible probably to change the injectors without pulling the valve cover, but pulling the valve cover will make it much easier, and trust me, you don't want to have to wrestle inside this car. So we're just going to go ahead and yank this valve cover. First of all, we just got to pull your plugs out. What you didn't see me do is I put a little piece of green tape on number 1 and number 3. They're pretty self-explanatory where they go, but if they get jumbled up in the process, I wanted to make sure I didn't mix them up. Now, 3 and 4 are obviously on this side, and they won't be long enough to come over here, and 1 and 2 are going to come to this side. So if I mark 1 and 3, that pretty much lets me know what's what and where's where. So we're going to go ahead and get this valve cover off. Pull your plug wires out. Yeah, I was waiting for that to happen. Come on, baby. Come on. That one doesn't want to play nice, does it? That one's not going to come out with by conventional means. So we're going to have to go to the other side and pull it off with the cap, which isn't going to be fun because you can't get in here at all. There we go. And I knew that was going to happen. Could tell by the way it was feeling. So we're going to try to pull it back in there. There we go. Well, we know where that one goes. I'm not going to pretend these are easy to pull out. And I even put some dielectric grease on them to make sure they didn't have any problems. Always use the right tool for the job, so I brought this metric Knipex pliers. Take these little doodads here off. They're just like a flat washer nut, and they fit onto the valve cover. These have a little thing in the jaw there, but really, honestly, you should use a wrench because you don't want to booger these up. But I'm going to do it the wrong way and use these. Well, I might have to do this one the right way. There we go. This is the only downfall of this particular style of plier, is this little nub here. If you don't have a lot of room on that side that you're working on, then it can become an obstacle. There we go. The valve cover is just kind of in the way. It's not a necessary thing. If you want to try to avoid taking it off, you can get in there and you could do it, but you'll probably cut yourself up worse than I normally do. The little hose here has got to come off. Throttle cable is going to get in the way, so we're going to go ahead and pull it off. It's going to be two 10mm bolts, I believe. Yes, indeed, yo. So let's go ahead and pull the throttle cable off of here. It's not a bad idea to have a little coffee can or something to throw your nuts and bolts in. I don't plan on having a lot of nuts and bolts in this particular job, so I'm going to do the wrong thing. I'm just going to stick them in the toolbox that I'm using. That way, if I accidentally dump the toolbox, all my nuts and bolts go with it. The MR2 comes with this nice little shelf on the back where your trunk lid goes. There we go. Pop that. Now here's your cold start injector. So we can get that out of the way. And then these little cables, they just got a slot here. And you just kind of wiggle them out of there. And, she's gonna be a pain in the rump right there. What you gotta do, she's got a little plastic doohickey holding her to the bracket to stop you from getting it out of here. So you're just gonna squeeze the edges of that, kind of pop it in there, kind of put a little pressure on it, and squeeze. Should just pop. There we go. It should just pop right out. There we go. And just kind of tuck that out of the way. Find a spot for it up out of the way somewhere. Okay, I might just stick it up over here. There we go. It's not going to be in the way up here. Make sure our cold start doesn't get mixed up. Of course, it's got this little doodah on it, and the other ones don't. So we definitely don't want to get that mixed up. Alrighty, we've got to get this little baby off of here, and whoop, there you go. She's got two little doodahs. They look like threaded nuts, but they're really just kind of push on, and they kind of push onto the back end of the nuts that are holding on the timing cover. You just kind of pop this fitting up here, get it out of the way, and it's got just going to push it out of the way. There we go. Alrighty. Now the fun part. Trying to get this valve cover to come up after she's been here for 200 years. Make sure there's no there we go. There we go. Now I can pull these little seals. They actually look like they're in good shape. So let's go ahead and get these out of the way. Come on, baby. There we go. And there we go. Oh boy. Well, that seal came out okay, and it took a ride. Didn't hear it hit the ground. Of course, this car has, as you can see, there's lots of room in here now. And that was kind of the idea. So now we just got to get our fingers in here, push in on these little tabs on the injector. Probably best to get a flat blade screwdriver, and can pry up on that while push down on that tab. So basically push down on the tab, give it a little wiggle with the screwdriver, being careful not to booger up the... Come on, baby.
For many years, Elvis Presley has held several big chart records. Look like they'd never be broken. One of them is the most top.
There we go.
He has a total of 38.
Alright, there's one. You gotta kind of really get a good push in on these things. There we go. There's two. We're just gonna tuck them in that little bracket there. It was handy to put that there for me. We got two more. You gotta push in on there. Come on, baby. There's always something sharp that can grab a hold of your skin and draw blood. There we go. Last but not least, this one don't want. There we go. There we go. Alright, so we got all of those out of the way. I'm going to try to tuck these two up underneath the cold start. Keep them out of the way. There we go. It's lovely. See? Always something nice and sharp to grab onto. Alright, now we're just going to I believe these are 10 millimeter as well. Get in here with a 10 mil. Well, except for I can't get in there with a 10 mil. So we're going to go ahead and try to get in there with some kind of a wrench. We're going to have to fetch me a wrench. Alrighty, we got a couple of bolts we have to deal with here. And first one is you follow this line down. She goes to a 12 millimeter screw or bolt down there. Cracked her loose. Just going to take her off of here. Now you got to be careful with these because they have little washers on them that threaten to get lost. And since we don't have a valve cover on this thing, the odds of dropping something down into the engine are higher. And you can't see what you're doing here because your hand is in the way. So you have to be really, really careful. And there's that little washer I was telling you about. It's kind of stuck on there. So I don't think I want to take a chance, so we're going to take it off of there. Take this out of there. That way we don't lose them. So we're there. And now we're going to take, we can get this 12 millimeter on these. Oops, I grabbed the wrong one. Well, beat it to the horse with that. There's the 12. Alright. Crack them loose. It doesn't feel good. I'm not happy about this. It doesn't feel good. One of the things that is a bad mojo is anytime you put a bolt into aluminum, a steel bolt, it can oxidize. And if it oxidizes, it also brings with it the possibility of breakage. So if this thing breaks, this is going to be very bad. So we're going to try to be real gingerly with it. It's an old trick. When you got a lot of pressure on something, you just kind of put another wrench on it like so, just gently. I am not liking the way these feel at all. Whew. That's better. I feel better about it now. Alright, that's that one. Let's get this one. This one felt the same way. Sometimes you can heat it up. We're going to just gently push on it. There we go. Well, held my breath on that one. I don't know about you all, but it came out. So when we put it back in, we're going to make sure we put anti-seize on there anytime you're dealing with a fastener that's steel and it's going into aluminum. Always use anti-seize, because if you don't and you ever have to go back in there again, you'll be hating life. I don't see any carnage under the valve cover, and the odds of a bent push rod or something like that are impossible because it's an overhead cam, and these cams ride directly on these valves, on these these lifters, I guess, and they just push them down as they go. So that's why these engines are so durable. You don't have all those little moving parts that can get bent and pushed and out of whack and need adjustment and all that. These are just good to go. Now, I don't know if you can see it well enough, but here's the distributor we put in the other day, and there's where that fits in. It just fits into a little slot in the cam, you know. But we've kept that lined up, and if you watch that video of this distributor being put in, now you can kind of see what we were doing. Of course, we were blind. We didn't see this, but we were able to do that. And just for a note, if you look, you can see there wasn't any leaking going on with this valve cover. It looks good all the way around, so that's a good thing. Of course, we're going to replace that gasket anyway, just to be safe. But okay, we're going to go ahead and get this last one out of here. Now there's a washer on this too, so I'm making sure I'm keeping track of that with my fingers. We'll clean these bolts up. See that little bit of corrosion on there? That was what can break these things. And so we're definitely going to clean that up, put some anti-seize on it. These were iodized, gold iodized, or anodized, excuse me, anodized bolts, so they don't rust as badly. But as you can see, if I waited a few more years, there's a good chance that baby wasn't coming out. So anyway, here we go. Now we've got those two out. There is I don't know if you all can see that from up there, but there is a little bit of a little doohickey here with a line on it, and that's probably going to cause me some trouble. So we're going to go ahead and start pulling this back. And let's see, this is a big, good size bolt there. I don't know if I can get to it from in here, out here. So let's see. We'll try it with the right tool. It's got a big hex on it. We're going to try it with this, and if we can't get it easily, which we probably can't, then we're going to go ahead and I don't think that's going to happen. It looks like it's probably about a 17 millimeter. I can't really get in there with this, so rather than booger things up, I'm going to go ahead and go get a 17 millimeter. Alright, went back to this. Had to take a 22 millimeter wrench and break this loose. Now, I'm not going to lie, it took two of us to break it loose because it was really tight and it ate my friend's hand. So expect a little blood, although he didn't bleed. But taking this out, this is the fuel regulator. And once again, we need to look out for those little washers. He's hitting a little bit over here, so what we're going to have to do is going to take these two back out. I put these two back in so we can get leverage on the breaking that loose, because that bugger was tight. There we go. Once everything's loose, now I'm getting a little bit of fuel out of her. So we must be on the right track. I got that regulator off of there, and I'm just going to pull this fuel rail back and hopefully have enough room. It's definitely fighting me, but if I can't, well, actually, she's got a little bit of play in her, so if we can get all but that last injector out of there, we might be able to squirrel her out of the way. See if you can you see if you can get your hands in there and see if you can pull that last injector off. It's going to pull off the rail this way.
Yeah.
Is it coming off?
Mm-hmm. And
Sweet.
the fuel's coming off.
That's alright.
But still not clear enough. Oh, there we
Did you get it?
Yeah, I got it. And I got it all dirty though.
That's alright. So we'll clean everything up. Alright, so you just got to kind of squirrel that little injector out of the way, and the rest of these should come out pretty easy. We're just going to set them out here, one at a time. There we go. And pull this last one out. There we go. So we got the rail out of the way just enough. I did loosen that line, but I wasn't able to actually take it completely off. So evidently we've just proven that loosening it is enough, because we were able to get that out. So anyway, got the injectors out. I'm just going to clean this up a little bit, and that way when we go to put the new injectors in, we don't clog them all up. So anyway, there we go. Oh, and there's still a seal missing on this one. You'll see
That's the one I pulled out.
You'll see the seal is still in the head, so we're going to have to make sure we get that out. So before we put the new one in. But there we go. Here's my new injectors. I put a spot of Permatex on them to keep the seal on there, because I don't want it falling off when we put it in. So I'm going to have my friend here try to get this one over here in the corner while I hold the rail up. Let me put a little bit of grease. I'm going to put a little bit of grease around the outside of it, and that'll help it to slide in nicey nice. So I'm just going to put a tiny bit of grease on here. You could use oil too, but I don't want to contaminate it. So we're just going to use a little spot of grease. Try not, very difficult to not get any on the nozzle itself to clog it. We just want her to slide in nice and easy. There we go.
You might repent. Touch it.
It's not every day I've got help, folks, so this is a good thing.
I'm in.
Alright. Get your hand out.
I got it. I'll hold the rail spread.
Okay.
You can put the other one.
So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put a little bit of grease on the outside. Working very hard. We clean the holes up. Working really hard to try to keep everything.
Wrong side.
No, I know. I'm making this so we can get the fuel rail on nice.
Not bad. I was wrong.
But thank you for watching out for me. We're just trying to make it so everything slides together nicey nice. Alright, the next one. Can't really see what you're doing, so we're just kind of going by feel here. And I'm not feeling the hole here. There it is.
Yeah, I need a charger. Oh wait, thanks, Mom.
There we go. There's that one. And then we're going to move on to the next one. I'm also putting a little grease on these upper O-rings so that we can make sure those slide on nice and easy. But you also want to make sure your hands are clean, so when you put it in,
You need to pull the fuel rail up. I got the injectors.
there's that one. They get easier as you work down, so we did the hard one first. Notice I gave it to my buddy to do the hard one. Nice guy that I am.
Gotta have somebody else to blame, right?
Probably a better choice would be Vaseline to put on these O-rings, but I didn't have any handy, so I'm just using regular axle grease. It's just there to help things go together easier. Last but not least, we have that one. And I'm going to go ahead and put oil on it. Oh, shoots. Not good. There we go. And have we got the other ones in there? There we go. Can't see it. I think we've got one that's not in.
They're sort of lined up.
This one's not holding. Oh, we're not lined up here, that's why.
And the spacers.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and get a. I gotta get some lock. Some. What do you want to call it? Hang on, don't move.
Where's yours doing, injector?
Yeah. Okay, we got the injectors in, got them all lined up, and I use these bolts to go ahead and draw it in. And just trying to push them in by hand wouldn't be too terribly easy. So we're just going to go ahead and tighten these up. Tighten that one on the far side up, that regulator, and then we're going to put the valve cover back on. We're tightening these two bolts up that hold the fuel rail in. There's probably a torque spec on them, but I'm going to say it's about right there and right there. Yeah, that works for me. Then we're just going to go ahead and start hooking all this stuff back up. Alright, last but not least, we're going to take this big 22 millimeter and we're going to go ahead and tighten her up. See if we can get it a little bit by hand first. There we go. I don't want to over tighten it. There's no way to get a torque wrench on it, so if there's a torque spec, that's good enough. It took two of us to get it loose, and hopefully she won't leak. If she leaks, well, we'll tighten her up some more. But I think we're going to be golden. All right.
Good luck with the valve cover on.
I don't like your attitude. So anyway,
I'm a pessimist.
we're gonna This is our, if you remember, we put our injectors. I marked number 3.
Something turned off while
I'm just going to plug all our injectors back in. There we go. You got to feel them snap, so just keep pushing until you feel them snap. Digging these 2 back out. Push them back on. Come on. I don't want to play nice. It's always one. So I'm going to push these. There we go. Went ahead and cleaned up on the valve cover a little bit, installed a new gasket, and getting ready to install it. Before I put it back on, I went ahead and energized the fuel system by turning the key on, you know, counting to 10 or 12, 15, and shut it back off, and do that 5 or 6 times, and go ahead and energize, and you can hear it. You'll hear the fuel pump buzz until you hear that it is energized, and you know, it'll change pitch a little bit. So checked for leaks, made sure none of this stuff is leaking, and as I can tell so far, I don't have any leaks. So we're going to go ahead and reinstall the valve cover. Nice and clean now. Be careful not to booger up the valve cover gasket that we just put in. Got a little bolt right here. That's being a little bit of a nuisance, but not anything to worry about. It's kind of idiot-proof. These things, just these little tubes for the spark plugs, make it so you really can't screw it up. It's not going to go very far. And I got new gaskets for the for this as well. You can buy the valve cover gasket with just the outer gasket without new ones of these. And let's see if I have any old ones. No, I don't. Oh, here we go. Here's one of the old ones, and you can tell it's not bad. It would probably still work. I'll probably keep it as a spare, just in case, but because I don't plan on getting rid of this car anytime soon, unless somebody offers me more money than I should get for it. But just go ahead and install these. It's pretty simple. Just kind of set them in place, like so. And just got to discard that. And then you've got your little nuts here, and just kind of screw them down on top there. There's probably a torque spec for these. I'm thinking, tight enough. Sometimes you can go crazy with torque specs. Things like rod bolts and main bearings and head bolts and things like that, where you got to crush a head gasket a certain amount, or you need a certain amount of stretch on a bolt. Those things are, by all means, do your torque specs on them. But when you're talking a valve cover, yeah, go ahead and torque it if you want to. I usually don't. I just kind of snug them up and go by feel. But I've been doing this a few years, and I can get away with doing that sort of thing. But, if you don't torque it, and you over tighten, yeah, you might open up a can of worms that you didn't want to open. So it's not a bad idea to go ahead and torque things. So just because I'm not doesn't mean that you shouldn't. And same goes for the right tool for the job. I'm going to use these. I don't recommend it, because if I booger them, it's on me. Now, if you'll notice, I'm going to go ahead and start with these 2 center ones, and then I'm going to work to the outside one. Now, that one didn't have anything on it, so I went ahead and gave it more than 1 turn. But I try to give an equal amount of turns per, 1 turn there, 1 turn. Well, that's a quarter turn really, and then quarter turn there, quarter turn there. This one I'm going to give a little bit more to, because as you pull these center ones in, these are going to loosen up, so you might end up turning the outside ones a little bit more. So I'm just going to give that one a little smooch. You know, and then just keep kind of turning them. If you want, you can go ahead and give them a couple. It's not a big deal. You're going to feel it start to tighten up. You want to crush that rubber gasket that's in there and give it a little bit of a, you know, put some tension on it. But you don't need to. That's one of the things I do like about using this pair of pliers. I'm not going to get a lot of tension on them, just simply because I can't get a good bite on them with this. I've got to put some pressure in here, which is a little more fatiguing on your hand, and it'll start to slip if you start to get too tight. So it's kind of like a torque wrench for idiots. So I'm going to use that as my guide on not making it too tight. When I have to squeeze too terribly hard on this to get it to tighten up, then I know I'm there. Once again, it doesn't hurt. In fact, it's probably preferable, especially if you're not someone who works on engines all the time. You know, go ahead and look up the torque spec and torque it to whatever they tell you to, and there's much less chance of getting yourself into trouble that way. I'm starting to feel these tighten up now, and there you go. I can feel it now where I could probably, you see that one slip on you, on me? I can start to feel that. I mean, I can sock that down more if I want to, but I don't have any need to. I can feel that she's crushing that gasket adequately. There we go. And that's all I need right there. Go over them one more time. See that one, when you tighten them up, the next one will loosen somewhat. There we go. And of course, if you start getting a leak, then you know you should give it a little more of a snug. Now, flip side of that, in this case, you know, if you went too tight, you could probably distort this cover. And you start distorting the cover, then she's not going to seal right either. So there's definitely a good idea. I'm feeling pretty good about that. I never did take the plugs out, so we've got our seals in there. We've got our new valve cover gasket in there. Gonna put our little vacuum line on, right? It's PCV valve, really. And you really want to have that on there because you'll end up with oil everywhere. And this engine doesn't have a lot of miles on it. It's only got 104. Had 48 when I bought it. And I've been driving the wheels off of it. But so anyway, let's get our spark and plug wires. And there we go. You know, they'll snag on everything. And put them in. I've usually put dielectric grease on them, but I've already done that because I changed. You know what? Before we do that, let's go ahead and pull the plugs. Take a quick look at what our plugs look like, and that way we can make sure that everything's ready to go. Pull one plug out, take a look-see at her before we go putting my wires back on, and then we're going to be ready to test on her. I'm not really liking the looks of that one too much. She's cocoa brown, but she also looks like, I don't know if y'all can see that, but she's kind of cocoa, but got a little bit of lean looking there too, you know. The dielectric grease is definitely there. I'm getting it on my fingertips. But otherwise, I always put a little bit of anti-seize on these threads too, so I'm going to go ahead and go fetch that real quick. I found this plug here looked pretty clean. She didn't have any, I probably should have showed you, I apologize for that, but she was white. She didn't look like she had any fuel on or anything, so it's reaffirming my belief that it was the injector that wasn't working. because all of these got a little bit of cocoa brown on them, as I showed you with this one. This one, on the other hand, was white. It didn't look like it had been firing, so it looks like it wasn't making any combustion whatsoever. So hopefully, replacing that injector has done the trick. I did want to show you all real quickly on these, very important. Try to push these down by hand, and they tend to, you know, you think you're in, but you're really not. So you really got to kind of get on top of it, and give it a push, and you'll feel it snap in. If you don't feel that snap, you're not seating the plug. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and pull this last one out really quick, and then we're gonna go ahead and put the throttle cable back on, and then we're ready to test on her. Let's pull this one back out. Oh, now look at that one. See the same thing. If you look, so at least you guys will get to see it. If you look at how clean that plug is. It doesn't have any, doesn't really have any combustion to it. It doesn't have any soot, anything else. She smells a little bit like gas. So that's telling me that we're just not getting combustion in these two cylinders. So something's telling me either these plugs aren't firing, but we tested on these and they were appearing to be firing, because when you put a timing light on it, unless it's actually making a ground, unless that is actually arcing out, that light won't flash. So we were getting sparks. So the only other alternative is there wasn't enough fuel in there, or possibly too much. But it doesn't smell gas fall. I mean, it smells a little like fuel, but. And it may be gas falling. That could be the other problem. We're getting too much fuel, which would be the fault of the oxygen sensor, which we did put a new one. But that doesn't mean that it's working, unfortunately. Again, a little bit of anti-seize. You can tell this tube's been around for a while. Just put a little bit of anti-seize on these. You don't want to put steel on aluminum without anti-seize on it. And this stuff is like dog poop, man. You get a little bit on your hand, and it will be everywhere before you realize it. So always try to be real careful getting it on there. As you can see, I got it all over my hand. It's almost impossible not to. But it will get everywhere. So if you want to keep it, if you're one of those that likes to keep their engine bay nice and clean and looking good, you definitely got to be careful with the anti-seize. Okay, again, spark plugs are actually supposed to be torqued just like other things. And again, I don't really spend a lot of time torquing them. I just kind of snug them up. And better, I think, to be too loose than too tight on a spark plug. And then once again, we're going to put that pressure on here. See, that one's not going. She's not going to go. There we go. Phew, that one was a booger. So again, make sure you get that as well. You want to make sure you've got all those things working the way they should. Put our looms together here just to keep things tidy. There we go. And it's probably not the best idea in the world to have them touching the valve cover, because any potential for arcing is bad. Unfortunately for this one, it's just where it wants to be. So maybe we'll move these looms a little bit and try to get that up off the ground here. A little bit more. There we go. There we go. So now she's not touching. Let's probably go like that. Oh, that's even better. Okay. There you go. That way they're not crossing each other in any way. This one, it looks like it's crossing probably in the camera, but it's actually got about an inch between them. And it's not touching anywhere here. That's just in case your spark plug wire goes bad. You won't be arcing out against anything else. So there's no need to change the oil on this one. We just changed it not that long ago. And I didn't spill anything, and I didn't get any debris down inside the engine or anything like that. So we're safe there as well. So now we're going to go ahead and fire her up and see if we fix the problem. We're about ready to get her start. I'm going to make sure we put our little sensor here back in. So we're going to put this over here. And put that in there like that. There we go. And then we need to dig up our throttle cable, which is right here. And we need to hook her up. Well, if I can remember how. I believe, because this is not going to go this way, so we got to come up underneath here. Get to the other side. There and through here, like so. Up underneath. Dig up our two bolts that go in here. Again, a little bit of anti-seize. I'm fortunate because this car doesn't have a lot of miles on it, and the miles that it has been put on it have been in the last year or so, because I've been driving the wheels off her. But because it's been pretty much garage kept for a long time, she doesn't have a lot of corrosion on her or anything. There's some here, but that's not really a lot. And I'll probably take care of that before too much longer. There we go. But we want to make sure for future, anything that I have to work on in the future, that I don't cause myself grief. So we are going to be sure and put some anti-seize on everything so things won't get corroded in and cause me all sorts of trouble. Alright, let's get a little bit of there we go. I think if it had an automatic transmission, then this was probably your kickdown linkage. But for this car, I don't think that goes anywhere. And so we're just going to go ahead and snug those down. And I do believe we are, not quite, almost ready. Well, we're ready for a yeehaw, so let's hope. Go. Well, it's supposed to fit in this little bracket, but she's a little bit too far forward. But we're gonna put her in there anyway. But there we go. I do believe we're all ready to go there, big guy. All right. This is supposed to fit in here. I don't know why I've got that just floating around in there doing nothing. Get once over on everything else. And let's go ahead and try to start her. Okay, we've got everything back together. Wait a minute, I forgot one little item. We've got this little bracket right here that the throttle fits into. There we go. And let's go ahead and give it a little snuggage. There we go. And I could loosen this one up just to get it out of the way. Then we're going to go ahead and give her a start. Turn the key 2 or 3 times, make sure she's energized, and then we're going to fire it up. Here we go. That's it. Take the first test drive. Alright, I'm going to try to go. I accidentally hit the. Alright, let's see. I'm going to try to set this up for a little drive. We'll see what happens. Alright. Are we ready to go for a drive, folks? Hopefully, maybe I better close the window so my camera doesn't fly out the window, just in case. Here we go. Let's go for a ride. Hopefully you can see. We're going to close that window. Might get a little hot, but at least I won't lose the camera out the window, because she's not strapped in any way. You are literally riding in the passenger seat on a tripod. So, crazier things have happened. Let's take her for a little spinach. She's actually better in the corners, but here we go. Ready? Running good. Hello. As you can see, she's not exactly seatbelted in. Straight away, she's good to go. Still got that little hesitation going on though. We ain't got her licked yet. Anybody's got suggestions, I'm open. She's got a little miss. I don't know if it's electrical or fuel. But that's the skinny on it. Jeepers. There's never any traffic on this road, and there is now. Alright, folks. We're going to go back to the house. We're going to have a little turnaround right here. There we go. I turn around this guy's driveway lots of times, and they're really cool about it. I've never met the guy, I met the woman, and she's like, oh, I don't mind. So, they're pretty cool about it. Now I wish that I had this camera secured, because I could show you how we can go through the gears in a corner, especially this corner. Not super fast, but she is super fun. But she'll get out of her own way. Consider she's only got 4 little cylinders to work with. And this is a non-turbo model. So she's working on natural aspiration. There you go, folks.